So it's time for another gardening week video, and the wind's getting up. It's windy today, actually, quite windy. So I'm going to start supporting these brassicas because they're starting to flop over a bit. I mean, some people don't bother supporting brassicas, I find, because I plant so densely that without that they all just become a tangled mess and it becomes very difficult to kind of manage them. Whereas with a stake, you know, everything's just so much easier. And if you put them in staking early enough, it doesn't seem to damage the plants at all. I'm going to use fence pins, and the fence pins I'm using were in that bed over there where I had the club root problem. So I've sterilised them with Jay's fluid before I start. I'm actually going to fasten them onto the plants with cable ties, which I know some people won't like the idea of me using plastics, but honestly, you know, I've looked into it and it's such a tiny impact. And of course I can collect up these at the end of the day. I've tried all sorts of other things for doing this, but I find the thing I tried the most and did for a few years was hemp string, but it was always breaking. It just didn't last the length of time that these brassicas need the support. Whereas these cable ties, I never lose them, they never break. I can always, you know, they never get incorporated into the soil or anything like that. I can always dispose of them responsibly. So anyway, I'm using these. And yeah, I'm using fence pins, and I say I really like fence pins rather than canes because they never break, and they rust a bit, but they last for a very long time. So these are the pins. You can see that they're pretty big and sturdy, and you can put eye savers on the top there, and I use them for everything. So I've used them, for example, here, whoops, to support this carrot mesh, and I've used them over there for the carrots and over there for the carrots, and on Debbie's plot for the brassicas. So they're really versatile. You can get them from my Amazon shop, but you can get them from loads of other places as well. So I just pop them in like that, and they probably need a bit of a hammer in as well because my ground's kind of not so soft far down. But these make all the difference, you know, the plants, they don't waste energy kind of trying to fight the wind. And you know, it keeps everything nice and neat and tidy for me as well. So that's always a good thing, because I do like things to be neat and tidy. So I do get a lot of comments actually about how tidy my plot is, and often the kind of subtext of those comments is that people don't have time to keep their plot tidy like I do. I kind of got two observations on that point. One is I keep it tidy because it's efficient, mainly, and because my personality is such that I just feel more relaxed and sort of in control of life when things are neat and tidy. But the main reason is efficiency. I just think it's way more efficient to keep things neat and tidy. So if you haven't got time, you know, keep things tidy, you know, because you just don't waste time looking for things or sorting things out. You know, everything is always easy, and I like an easy life. So yeah, I find it quite interesting. I'm always telling the kids that as well. It's a bit like the old adage around meditation. You know, if you're busy, meditate for an hour or something like that, and you know, if you're really busy, meditate for 2 or something. You know, it's something like that. So there we go. You need to make sure that the cable ties are on quite loose, because the stems are obviously going to get thicker over time. Try and fasten them fairly high up the stem as well, because obviously all these leaves are going to come off and the cable ties will end up on the floor. So you will probably have to redo it once the plants are a bit bigger. I do see some amusing things related to kind of supporting plants, you know, like earth them up or firm them in with your feet, you know, at planting time and things like that, you know, because they don't like to rock in the wind. Well, obviously those people who come up with that advice haven't gardened on sandy soil. You can't earth up sandy soil, it just washes straight down again. And yeah, you can't really firm it in with your feet. I mean, you can, but it's so loose that the plants will soon rock themselves loose again. So the only real option is some sort of stake to reduce the amount of rocking. Although I've never had sprouts blow because of rocking in the wind with a stake to support them. So regular viewers might remember that I cut the tops off my beetroot, and you know, my hypothesis was, based on some experience in previous years, that they would grow back lovely new leaves, and I partly took them off because they were being eaten, they were getting a bit mildewy, but also they were kind of just overwhelming everything else that was in the bed. And look at them now, they're looking really lovely. There's a lot of ants in the bed, but apart from that, yeah, they're looking really nice now. Really nice leaf growth, really good quality, and really nice healthy plants. So I highly recommend that if you've got any problems with the leaves, like rust on your leaves or caterpillars on your leaves, or you just want to sort of stop your plants growing really and hold them in the ground at the size that they're at, without any risk of them going woody or without any of the complexities of trying to store beetroot at this time of year, which are quite considerable. So yeah, it's worked well. So I've just been making a video about how I train my squash vertically, and it struck me that there's a nice analogy really to the way that you raise kids. You know, that you want to nudge them in the right direction and support them to be the best version of themselves that they can be, and not treat them all as if they're little clones of some sort of ideal child. So not every crown prince is going to grow the same. In fact, I broke off the leader of that crown prince, so it's definitely not going to be the same as the one next door to it. But they're all going to grow different. You know, some are going to be more vigorous than others, some are going to have more side shoots than others. You just got to treat them differently. And of course, they're all growing in kind of cooperation with the other plants around them. So I just like to look at them and, you know, try and help them to be the best squash that they can be. So these second early strawberries are finished now. So I've taken all the tops off them. I just snipped them off with scissors, and I've given them a bit of a top dress with cow manure and a bit of bloodfish and bone, just to sort of reinvigorate them and get them plenty of new green growth. I want them all back to being new green leaves within a month or so. I've got loads of runners all around the edge here, and I use these runners that have kind of taken root around the edge for my first early plants that I put in the polytunnel in hanging baskets. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this. I do like to get them nicely tidied up like this, in part just because it's good practice, but also it lets me keep on top of the weeding, because I've got a lot of mare's tail in this bed, and it's kind of all hidden underneath the sort of growth of the strawberries, and if you don't keep on top of pulling it, then you never stand any chance of really getting it under control in the long term. So I do like to kind of little patches like that down there, like to get them out as soon as I see them, and hopefully in about 10 years time I won't have a mare's tail problem. So you might remember about 2 weeks ago we sowed these carrots, and these were the pelleted seeds. Eskimo was a variety, and these are the ones I'm going to be eating in autumn, and really pleased to see that I've got pretty much 100% germination in this bed. It has been, I've got to admit, perfect carrot sowing weather, so I don't think it's all down to my technique, but anyway, it worked. So just before we get to the harvest, just to let you know that I have started a newsletter, and you can find the details in the description down below. So if you want to subscribe to that, I'd be very happy about that, and hopefully it's going to be really useful. So let's take a quick look at the harvest, which has actually been a bit of a challenge because it's going to be pretty rainy this weekend. So I've done it a bit early and done it a bit quickly, but I still think I managed to do a decent pick. And yeah, I'm going to start with the lettuces actually, because we're really struggling with lettuce volumes at the moment. I've had a lot of losses, lost a lot to slugs that came from a neighbouring plot and just kind of decimated like 5 or 6 lettuces. And then I lost quite a few to caterpillars as well. Again, just took the whole lettuce out. And even some of my seedlings in the polytunnel, I've lost quite a few of those to caterpillars. So yeah, it's been a bit difficult. I'm really pleased though that I diversified like I normally do by planting things in different places, and as a result of that we've kind of just about pulled through. So yeah, not much for friends unfortunately this week. Anyway, nice little mixes. I'll make those up in a minute, but I'm going to be adding this golden purslane, which is absolutely fantastic. If it wasn't for that, I'd struggle to fill these boxes. We've got some first pick of the New Zealand spinach, which is looking quite nice. Some more gooseberries. We're just eating so many gooseberries at the moment. They're so nice. I've got some more of these red gooseberries as well, and I'm loving those. I think I'm going to take a cutting actually off the red gooseberry plants so I can get some on my plot, because I love them to snack on. It's a bit of a trek to Debbie's plot to eat them. Yeah, loads of tomatoes. This is our third week now picking one of these tubs of tomatoes, and obviously I like eating loads for snacks as well. And these are just the early crop. The main crop, outdoor ones, are just starting to ripen now, so only 3 weeks behind, even though they were probably 6 weeks difference at sowing time. So salad onion tops, salad onions, celery, chard, a bit of that's going to seed now, but we don't really worry about that because we multi-sow it, and we often find that only one plant out of the clump goes to seed, and we'll take that one out and leave the others to grow on. Obviously bits of garlic. I need to get on and process the garlic, to be honest, because it's all dry now, and the elephant garlic. Little shallots, and again, got to process all those. Onions, these are the early onions, obviously, just got to process all those. I didn't think, so we had cauliflower last week, I didn't think we'd have any flowering brassicas, but actually the side shoots on the calabrese are really coming through in volume. I think next week we'll probably have 2, maybe 3 times as much as that. And then the week after that we'll have the new calabrese on my plot. So I'm pretty hopeful actually we'll have flowering brassicas almost to the end of summer, and then we've got the autumn cauliflowers and things. So I've done a better job than I normally do of flowering brassicas. So these are my gorgeous little Brussels sprouts, summer Brussels sprouts. Honestly, I know I go on about this every week, but I so love these. They're so underappreciated. Just picked a few Colette leaves and a few Brussels sprout leaves off the main crop plants. And we've got loads of kale and stuff in the garden, but to be honest, these are what I want to eat at the moment. And then every day, so for the last 4 days, I've been picking daily the courgettes, and you can see a nice kind of selection of courgettes there, and the cucumbers. So yeah, we're sort of in courgette heaven at the moment. Quite a nice selection there. I did do a video sort of looking at the different plants, but you'll notice no green courgettes because a couple of them germinated, but not very many, and the ones that did germinate died. So they were old seeds. I just need to buy some new seeds, Steve. And yeah, decent number of peppers, although they're all small because of the dodgy compost issues. Last of the peas, and so all the peas have gone now in the kitchen garden, and they'll be off Debbie's plot pretty soon. We won't have peas again now until autumn, the terrain autumn peas. And then we've got sort of daily picks there of the dwarf and climbing French beans. And then the massive beetroots, of which we've got loads, and they're all this sort of size now. I haven't planted any in summer, so these are all the sort of early crop, but they don't get woody or anything, so it's fine at that size. And they keep really well in the fridge once they've been chopped in half. No more salads from containers now. This is all salads. No more carrots from containers now. All carrots straight from the ground. Absolutely gorgeous. Still a bit small, because I planted them a bit late because I didn't want to take the spinach out. But yeah, just about in time anyway. But the potatoes, yeah, that's been a bit of a challenge. We've got through all the early potatoes now. So we're harvesting the second earlies a bit early. And I've just got a few containers that have got a single tuber in them. And so that's the harvest from a single tuber. As I say, they're a bit early, but we need potatoes. So we've got plenty, to be honest. So it doesn't really matter that we're harvesting them a bit small. Yeah, anyway, that's it. Quite a nice table.